does want to be taken seriously. And this constant sort of joking that he does often begins to undermine. So you have this proliferation of books, and you often have these rather slim volumes. You know, The Desert of the Real, the book on Welcome to the Desert of the Real, the book on the Matrix. There's a book on Iraq that came out, the Iraq War. There was a couple of books on Christianity, all rather slim, not very interesting ones. And then every 5 years or so, you get these big books like The Parallax View. You know, you have the Sublime Object, particular subject, the Parallax View. He has these sort of tomes which come out where he seems to be sort of taken, you know, want to be taken much more seriously as a philosopher. And again, he changes, you know, he changes his own designation. Sometimes he's a psychoanalyst, sometimes he's a cognitive theorist, sometimes he claims he's a philosopher. You know, now much more often he said he doesn't say he's a psychoanalyst anymore. He doesn't claim to be any kind of cultural theorist, he usually says he's a philosopher. So he wants to be taken very seriously. At the same time, this kind of joking status often leaves you wondering, you know, whether or not it does all add up to something. But I think he's a postmodern, you know, he's the postmodern academic in that sense, in terms of his style, his presentation, the speed with which he can write. I mean, the one thing he doesn't do, of course, is talk to students and mark essays. And this is how he does it. So he goes around the world lecturing, but you know, actually doing the day-to-day academic work that most of us end up doing. I don't think he's ever done this. And he's horrified at the thought of it. So he has all these academic positions. You know, he was at the New School for Social Research in New York. He's currently at Birkbeck in London. He also has a research position in Ljubljana in Slovenia. But I mean, the one thing he doesn't actually do is go into a classroom and want to talk to students.
And as you know, Zizek now claims to be a Christian too. He said that to become a true dialectical materialist, one should go through Christian experience. I would like to hear your comment on this.
Well, he also claims to be an atheist. So he's a Christian atheist. So when he writes about you know, why is the Christian legacy worth fighting for, he does so as a sort of militant atheist. Now, how you square this with his Christianity is another question. I mean, okay, I'll put my hands up here. Zizek's Christianity, or his engagement with Christianity, is one of my limits with reading it. Actually, the engagement with Christianity really came through the work of Alain Badiou. Do you know the work of Alain Badiou? Alain Badiou is the new fashionable French philosopher working today. He's written an amazing book, very, very short, amazing book called Ethics, an essay on the ontology of evil. And again, he's a sort of left radical philosopher, and who talks about, well, he calls it the event rather than an act, but it's very similar to Zizek's notion of the act. And there are certain key moments in history which we could describe as an event. So for Badiou, for example, the French Revolution was one such moment. The French Revolution, whatever happened to it subsequently, changed everything. For Badiou, also something like the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia was an event because it changed everything. Fascism wasn't an event. Fascism was not an event because it did not change the frame, the symbolic order. So it's very close to, and Zizek's work these days is very close to Badiou's work. Now, Badiou is also fascinated by the idea of the militant. He comes out of French Maoist traditions. I mean, in the 1960s in France, there were large numbers of, well, large numbers, 10 or 12, I don't know. There were Maoist groups, okay? Badiou was attached to these, and he's still very committed to the idea of the political militant. This figure who maintains and holds the faith against all the odds. So, okay, this kind of, most of the French post-structuralists who went through this kind of Maoist phase were very disillusioned by it. Within a year or two, gave up. But some, like Badiou, maintained the faith of political radicalism against the current of the times. Now, Badiou sees also the figure of St. Paul as political militant. So St. Paul is an iconic figure for Badiou in the sense of maintaining against all the odds the faith in faith in God, faith in Christianity. Now, Zizek's Christianity, I think, comes through that, comes through Badiou, a sort of interest in retrieving some kind of radical legacy out of Christianity. I'm not sure if this is making much sense to you. I'm trying to locate this where it is. I don't get it very much, though. I'm not at all happy. There is a lot of Western Marxists see something very, the belief in Marxism is as fundamentally kind of, like the belief in Christianity. Personally, I don't. I mean, there is quite a strong strain of seeing this, that the maintenance of some kind of belief in a kind of Marxist understanding of history is like Christian sort of faith in God and change, etc. This is where my materialism is perhaps rather cruder than Zizek's, I think. I don't know. I doubt if that answers your question. Sorry.
One very down-to-earth question. For example, I think many people here will find Zizek very boring. Something like this. But why is Zizek so popular and so wealthy?
So wealthy?
Yeah, because he sells many books. Then, for example, in China, when he comes to Nanjing, even though they cannot understand what Zizek is talking about or have no idea on Lacan altogether, all rush to buy their books and something like this. I'm not sure why this phenomenon is.
Well, whether or not Zizek is wealthy, I have no idea. I know he keeps complaining an awful lot about money. This is very interesting. He's always complaining that his publishers don't give him the royalties that he deserves. He sells thousands, particularly Verso, the left-wing book publisher that many of his books are published with. He's always complaining about Verso, that they owe him money. And he always complains he doesn't have any money. It's an interesting. Psychoanalytically, again, I think this is interesting because he sort of says, he doesn't have a regular academic position. He's a senior researcher in a research institute in Ljubljana, but he doesn't have, and he never has had, a permanent academic position in this sense. So he doesn't have a sort of full academic salary. So he's always saying he's broke. Okay? Don't ask me. whether he is or not. So the issue of Zizek's income is I don't know anything about, but I do find it interesting that he's constantly complaining about being broke. Right? Well, as I tried to say here, I think this is very the popularity. I'm sure, yes, there are parts of his book. There are these early books about Hollywood, which are the most entertaining. Right? If you read things, I don't know how many people actually read all the way through something like a particular subject or the parallax view. These are his much more serious philosophical works, but as most of us are not philosophers who engage with Zizek, extent to which